Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Lucid, and I'm joined by Sai.
Hi, I'm Sai and I'm joining.
That's right. So we've got a lot of messages here. Expansion seems to be going pretty well for most people, except strangely from like Ulm and from Utgard, who normally like those are like some of the easier. Well, Ulm expansion can be tricky, but not with this bless. And then it's kind of funny because like Utgard expansion normally isn't tricky, but it is with this bless, and those are both the people struggling. I don't think anybody else is really struggling that hard. Zabalba's it's a little tricky. Marignon has been doing some pretty cool moves, but I've been fucking it's been nail biting.
Yeah, I'd say that the folks that are having the most difficulty expansion, it definitely does seem to be either build related or just like individual practice things. So like
Yeah.
in Olm's case, we've kind of been pointing out that like for many of the ones where it lost, Stygian skin would have won just fine.
Right.
And for Utgard, we've probably talked too much about that one.
Yeah.
Whereas it seems that most people, even the ones running like Awake Researchers, like Marignon and Pythium, they've at least tested their expansion enough to kind of know what they need to bring to fight what.
Whose position are you liking right now before we watch any of the battles? Like
So just based on like the combination of nation presence
yeah.
and like how their expansion's been going, I'd still go with Vadheim just
Yeah.
because those early elephant mercenaries gave them kind of like that boost that they needed, which
Mm-hmm.
helps make up for their failure of assassin expansion. So even though they've taken some losses, it's just a very good nation that's still in a pretty decent position with a very well scaling build given those scales.
Yeah. Yeah, I like Vedheim might be my first pick, and then I think Micklin might be my second. I actually really like their position here. They got a ton of income and all the other things, so anyway, let's get on with the turn. We got a message from Arco. Hope your ears are doing okay watching our expansion. That is a reference to the noises that his
Yeah,
little
the elephant
critters
sound
make.
effect. Yeah.
Whatever it is, every time they trample. But he
Have you
actually
seen the
hasn't been using a lot of elephants. He just made two at the beginning.
I think he added some more for his new expansion party as well.
Okay. Well, this is an interesting move. So he goes up here and takes this very easy province. But this is like in the contested region between TC and Ulm.
Yeah, that's a bit of a stretch. The other thing is that his Heart Companion spam thing, I expect that it should have been able to move out this turn. Like he has to have enough at this point to make an expansion
All
party. And
right.
I think we saw at least one War Elephant last turn as well. So that's like 100 gold that you're paying upkeep on to not expand with.
All right. Because you can just kind of make the war elephants when you need to. And what's really strange is that I could understand a little bit if you're like going to go out and take other people's stuff like this. If you were like firing off an expansion party like every 1.5 turns, right? So you're expanding really well and you're like, well, I'll just, maybe keep income I can negotiate to keep income from it for a few turns and people will be fine. But like he needs
He
to
has a
establish
lot of
borders.
territory to go for.
He
Yeah.
needs to like come here and take this, like set a good border with Pythium, or like go over here and clear this out. Take this. I mean, this actually isn't very good for him. He doesn't really need Zots. He's got death access, but you know,
I mean, Zots are never bad.
yeah, they're fine.
They just have really great leadership and stealth and like high flying map move. So you can always find ways to use them.
I also don't love pinging this province either. Like, why would you ping it? It's an easy province. It doesn't. It could have a lot of crossbows potentially, but I mean, there weren't even enough to show up in the scout report. It's like what?
Yeah,
You risk the commander dying. Like what? It doesn't make any sense.
yeah, I don't love that either.
Okay. Moving on to Ulm, we get a message from Ulm. Gicello here. Poop. Enough said. All right, we got our kindergarten language. He doesn't no demerits for him using appropriate words. This has been like a 1 in 50 expansion result based on testing. Typically, at 7 plus provinces now, starting to send a 3 to 4 hawks at the tougher provinces. The PD routes are simultaneous to our own, so you can see how in an alternate universe, they're like 70% successful. Sometimes one hawk flees, another dies, another stays. Handful of heavy cav in each province is what tips it. So it's just been between like 5 to 10, whereas in tests it usually stayed below 5 in the predominant pop type. I'm not exactly sure. I think he's talking about like there being more cav than he's expecting.
Yeah, so he also is talking about how he was doing the testing is that he would set up provinces with these pop types and then increase the PD in order to generate those numbers of units instead of just having a map that has a bunch of those pop types in it.
Oh, I don't think that's the same, right? Like I think,
The ratios are different, yeah.
yeah, I don't think that's how that works. So yeah, I think it's a failure mode in how we tested it. In any case, one decent turn, we're back to normal expansion levels, though we're clearly banking on much better. Yeah. I mean, the other thing, there's obviously he's not getting the provinces, but the other thing is he's losing units. It's a big problem.
Yeah, he's losing his capital in the units, and he's also slowing down his research.
Sorry.
Just because, like, delayed provinces means delayed infrastructure. So, like, there's
Right.
that very natural chain that you hit your research goals at a slower timing because of your expansion hiccups.
Yeah. So I mean my comments from last time were that these like hard provinces that he's talking about combining to here, like that was where he sent them last turn. They're like 13, 12 heavy cav in some of those. That requires 4 hawks. And then yeah, there's been quite a few problems. It's an interesting, very aggressive build I like. It's been struggling.
Yeah, and what we've been seeing has mostly just been individual execution issues.
Right.
So, like, as you pointed out, not combining, and then you're seeing it here as well, actually, that they're not in the same square.
Right.
I mean, in this case, it worked because the province was easy enough, and they didn't get overwhelmed. But yeah, I'm not sure what they're doing wrong that's getting everyone charging at different timings. I'm
Right.
guessing that, because even if you're doing like the whole X5, it should be pretty reliable.
Yeah.
All right, so using the pike as a lance catcher, that's good, and then it also splits up the tree that killed it, so you get a little bit of more of a trickle in.
So one thing you were just talking about, I figured we should probably bring it up before we started recording, was that the decay weapons, there's no like MR check on applying decay. If you take damage, you take decay, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, apparently this is bugged, so this might be fixed at some point because Arco had mentioned
Right.
that decay weapons doesn't do that.
Yeah. And let's check it real quick. I just want to spot check. We'll see if everybody that gets hit.
It should be everyone that takes damage. Yeah,
Yeah.
that guy's...
He took damage. Yep, he took damage. Yeah, basically everybody's getting that decay. So yeah, that's interesting. That's definitely a bug. It's a bug one way or another because it's not aligned with the description. And that does make it better, but I think Stygian Skin here is still just way, way better.
Yeah. Well, I think it would be worth testing against just like a very high MR target.
Yeah. We should be able to see here a little bit more. So he's triple expanded this turn. So that's... And he had some lance catchers, which is nice.
And he also keeps his guys in the same square.
Okay, he got damaged. Got it.
It's not going to apply from their fire shields.
So this is perfect. He finally did it right.
Oh yeah, and you saw that first guy that
literally every... Oh, he didn't get hit.
Are you sure that wasn't fire shield? Oh nope. Yep, he did get hit. Okay, so it is resistible. Okay.
Yeah, okay, it is.
Interesting.
Penetration roll of 12 plus 3 versus... Okay, so it's an MR check against 12. That's not strange.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I've seen decay... decay weapons aren't that uncommon. You will... If you play Dominions multiplayer, you'll see them around every once in a while. And the idea that there was no MR check did seem weird to me because, like, I remember it was actually weird. I was fighting late age Ulm. I was late age Micklin. It was that YouTuber thing with Des Tactic and Wade Star, but yeah, they got a bunch of my Jaguars decayed, but not everybody was decayed. So it does mean it makes it you cast anti-magic and then it's like decay weapons are really not doing much.
Yeah, just posted in the chat where that had been shared that we just saw it fail.
Yeah. Okay. So
unless he's talking about a different type of decay weapon, but
right, could be.
But no, I think it's this one. I mean, this is like the decay weapon that fits in the context of the discussion. Anyways,
Yeah.
so yeah, Bulba's definitely getting the benefit from that hero giving that to summon the
Yeah.
Ocelotls. And
And
so the thing
the
with the
Obsidian
odd
Warriors
sub,
all lived, so that's nice.
yeah, so the thing with the odd sub leadership is that you kind of need those guys anyways in order to shuffle around your undead troops because he's using both long dead and those Ocelotls.
Right.
So like that also makes sense in that if you've got those guys with you anyways, then you may as well do some Skella spam.
Right. So he's still on one expansion province a turn, and furthermore, he's been clearing up his cap circle, which is great, because it's a flying nation. You can go out and contest border stuff easier. What's maybe not great is he's going to be pinned in super fucking hard, it looks like. Like, all his neighbors are expanding well. Erythia's been expanding like crazy. Jomin's expanding well. Micklin's been expanding pretty well. And then Ulm, while they've had some troubles, their nation is probably going to be able to get back on the horse pretty quickly. So,
Yeah, Fullick had mentioned in one of the earlier messages to us that he'd set borders with some folks, I believe,
okay.
unless I'm misremembering.
Yeah. All right. No message from Jomin or Micklin. Or Zabalba. So let's look at Jomin expansion. This is their starting army. They've gotten just a ton of mileage out of this.
Yeah, I mean, they basically just added that one horseman, and then they just been relying on those samurai archers and melee.
Well, they finally lost that horseman, but they did a bunch of work.
Yeah, especially with what's considered to be a pretty challenging starting army to get some mileage out of.
Yeah. So, very cool. You can see where they're mainly making samurai cavalry here in the cap. I'm guessing they're going to ride out and take these horse tribe with it, which should be pretty easy. Gath is
horse tribe are tough, but very doable. This Crystal Amazon's also pretty doable, but if I remember correctly, they've agreed that Gath gets that one.
Which one? This one? Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So it's actually interesting. He just won the bid again for Hector's heavy calves. It's not extremely clear to me what he's going to take.
Yeah, especially because he moved from the Forest Province, if I recall correctly, over to that one. So unless he's planning on
he's going to be able to get an early throne. 20 crossbow may have something to say to 15 heavy cav, because I think it got chipped down from 20 to 15. But I think they would still win this. It depends. I think you want to hold an attack, get some distance between you and the crossbows. But
yeah, it should at the very least be doable.
Yeah. And this would be spicy. Maybe you could do this if you combined armies and then come down and take this later. So
yeah, but if he was going for that heavy cav province, then he should have used the heavy cav to expand into the one next to it. Because don't they both border that? So the province that he did expand into this turn.
Yeah. This one?
Yeah. Oh, it doesn't have heat scales. Maybe they were out of range because of the forest movement penalty.
Yeah, it could be. I can't remember where they were the previous turn, so.
They were in that forest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the most likely move is maybe taking this, and you should still have one turn left to come claim the throne with this squad before it dies. So they really need it, and it looks like we'll see Samurai expansion up this way, and that'll be really nice for them to claim some of this region. And hopefully we'll see them go underwater soon, but all that remains to be seen.
They've got the mermen.
Right.
Yeah, so they should have no problem taking those easier underwater provinces. Yeah. For the Tritons, they might actually need to wait until their pretender wakes up.
Yeah, because they've got the Ghost King, right? So
I think that's what he'd said. Yeah.
Okay, let's go over to Gath. We got a message from Gath. Jade Amazons too. Well, thank you. Mr. Late Age Gath appreciates it. All of it is nice and cool, but our expansion struggles. With a lot of cavalry everywhere, it's a weird feeling when you lost almost nothing but can't expand almost anywhere. Gath expands well, but it needs a bit more resources and a bit less heavy cav. Yeah, the javelin dudes, I'm sure you don't really love running them into heavy cav.
Yeah, especially because most of those have shields as well.
Right. We also made our non-aggression pacts and negotiated borders with all our neighbors. Now, which may seem a bit strange, but it's actually not.
Yeah, so one of the things that the Drain Gath build is bad about is surprise attacks, right? Because you need to have your mages on the correct border.
Right.
So they're very inflexible in terms of who they're fighting, just because you don't have the ability to just delab a bunch of mages for an emergency defense.
Right.
So for Gath, I would say that this like sort of Diplo-heavy play style fits very well with their build, especially because they're going even more into skills, so they don't even have the threat of those heavy sacreds to be deploying.
Yeah.
Whereas, which usually is sort of like your deterrent and like your alternative to having like a bunch of mages on hand is, you might have a bunch of sacreds patrolling that can actually become effective units.
Right. And I think a lot of times, people probably are expecting Gath to have a stronger bless than this. So when other neighbors are thinking about, especially this early where they might not have seen his bless, they're thinking about, who do I want to go to war with? Gath isn't at the top of a lot of people's lists. It just usually isn't.
Yeah, they're definitely not anywhere close to what Hinnom and Ashdod can get up to with their sacreds.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, they still hit it pretty hard, and they also still have just very respectable combat stats. Sorry, talking about the Gibberim here, with 12 base attack, 16 base defense,
Yeah.
and the ability to slot humans into the square.
Right.
They actually hit pretty reliably, and of course, they still hit really hard because they have those magic Anakite swords that deal
Right.
8 extra damage.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think the thing is this build actually is pretty greedy. Like there's a kind of they're a little weak early. So yeah, playing like you said, Diplo heavy, probably pretty good. And it makes sense because people probably do not. This is not a meta build, I don't think. So
Yeah. And with all those indie mages, we're definitely going to see very unusual Gath plays. So
Right.
excited to see what they can cook up.
Okay, so that's Gath. Let's move up to Utgard, who we have a message from. Well, it's both bad luck and bad play on my end. I must say I'm a bit burned out on Dominions, and real life is currently a pain, so I probably wouldn't be playing if I didn't feel bad missing the finals. I'll do my best under the circumstances, but I apologize in advance for my poor performance. As for the build, I decided to go with something pretty middle of the road, both because I was kind of uninspired, and because Utgard's a strong nation that doesn't need that much help. I think region I felt was crucial on the Sacreds, and I took a bit of air just for some pretender flexibility, because it wasn't that much more expensive than pure air.
I assume means pure nature.
Pure nature, yeah. We'll see. I don't think the build is the issue. It's more like I don't really have the time, willpower to practice expansion. In any case, good luck to everyone, and have fun watching the finals. I hope it's as epic as the last one.
Yes, man.
Yeah.
I do think it's the build. But if you test expansion, you can make bad builds work. I also think in general that you don't need a perfect build to win by any means. Anyone who's subbed into a game and done well will know that you'll always find things that you would have wanted to change from the original player's build. And people have won from substitute positions using builds they didn't like.
Right.
So Dominions has a lot of both diplomacy elements to it, and of course like just the grand strategy element of knowing how strong you are and who you should be fighting when, and all that good stuff that can actually make a much bigger difference than, in my opinion, the strength of your build. Builds are fun to talk about, and there's something that you can kind of like optimize out of the game, which is partly like why they get so much discussion.
Right.
And it's just fun. Like I love theory crafting, so it's something that I'm very happy to talk about forever.
It's something you can sit there and gab about without actually having to be in a game.
Right, exactly. So yeah, like with a proper expansion testing like Skiko's talking about, you can make an N7 Mono Bless Utgard work. That said, I still think it's pretty bad for Utgard's potential. And one of the biggest differences in terms of like build power tends to be early game. Because like in the super late game, kind of everyone has everything. And in the mid game, it matters a lot more about like knowing what your magic options are and what the other guy's magic options are. So like where do you see builds have the biggest impact is when, your Titan wins that one critical battle to save you from a bless rush. Or when you have a great bless and you are bless rushing. So once you get out of like the early game expansion period, having a suboptimal build is going to matter much less than, in this case, just being too small because of his failed expansion.
Well, I mean, he's got Growth 2 and Magic 3. So that puts a cap on how bad things can be for him. I mean, he's got pretty good scales. So, I mean, Misfortune 3, a little cringe, but we'll see.
I mean, I understand why one would go Misfortune 3, even though you are giving up on heroes, just because, you have Scythe Cone everywhere. So, like, you're basically you're blocking bad events. Yeah, so you're blocking bad events in all of your like forwarded labs.
Yeah.
Because you're just spamming those guys. And that's like one of the fundamental strengths of the nation is spamming these super efficient mages.
Right.
So you just incidentally have great fortune teller access. Kind of like MAT and Chi. How like if you're not trying to use those celestial masters, ceremonial masters, which both of us love, then for that you obviously want luck 3. But if you're not doing that, you can very easily get misfortune 2 or even 3 and just ignore
Right.
much of the malice from your geomancers.
Yeah. I think the thing that's going through my head is like when you're this small, like misfortune can really fuck you because you're gonna get a certain number of like when you're only 3 provinces, you have a very high odds of getting like a negative event in each province at the very beginning. Once your scales have started spreading, which like these are all misfortune 2, like everything in his cap circle is already a misfortune, right? So and he's been getting 2 bad events probably a turn, and it's not that hard for it to be barbs or something that would just like it's possible that the game right now could spawn 80 barbs on this province and it would literally put him out of the game. It'd just be completely over.
You can hit I to check the event history of each of these provinces. Yeah, but I don't think he's had too bad. Yeah. It looks like he hasn't had any serious bad events. He hasn't. Income.
We'll see though. You know, there's some karma. We have 2 messages from Bettyheim. So the standard part of our expansion is prophetizing the first Dimvedi and making 2 more on turn 1 and sending those 3 to assassin clear the hardest cat in the cap circle. This is why you haven't seen our prophet yet. He's been assassinating things. Blesses, Undying 10, Spirit Sight, Farcaster, Shock Resistance 15. In testing, that's good to know. Ooh.
Oh, he might be able to do the Turbo Communion thing we were talking about last night.
Yeah. So we'll talk about this later when it actually gets seen. But there's a thing you can do with Healing Touch and Undying to make a really weird janky Turbo Communion. So
shout out to Seventh Path, who was the one who brought this up to me before and was in my to my knowledge the first person to like use that in a real Blitz game. But also
it's been floating around Discord. Like I've heard mutterings of it for like a year and a half, but I haven't actually heard like the details on it until like you and I were talking about it last night. But
yeah, Lucid said it was janky, but it's extremely reliable. Like they will cast Healing Touch off script on those like Undying targets when they're at negative hit points. So it works consistently.
Yeah. But yeah, this is a super solid build. There's really cool stuff you can do with Farcaster on Bettyheim too. The only thing I'm not totally sure about is Shock Resistance, but it's not horrible.
Yeah, that's a curious one to me as well, because Shock Resistance is a lot less threatening to Bettyheim than it would be for, say, Giants. Because like typically the reason that you want Shock Resist is basically as when you're rushing someone, you turn off one of their options to kill you.
Yeah.
Because like Lightning Bolt can shut down a Sacred just because it stuns reliably. So if you're relying on a small number of Sacreds to go win your battles for you, then Lightning Bolt suddenly becomes a great answer, even if you have 10 Shock Resistance, because any of those Lightning Bolts hitting sets their defense to 0 and stops them from attacking.
Yeah.
Whereas Bettyheim doesn't really need that. That's not really how they play, even when they are rushing someone.
Great.
And it doesn't block Thunderstrike's large area of effect thing. And because these guys are size 1, they're not really worried about air elementals attacking them either. Right. So this is kind of like a pro thug or pro giant.
I think I've been sitting here thinking about it. I think this is mostly just because they want air on their pretender. Because they've got the shit-eating grin little cursed idol dude. And this is gonna I'm almost certain looking at this.
I mean, I do see the Astral Death. That guy, I guess, if you want to cast Wailing Winds, that's a thing he can do.
So
yeah, but he can already do like Bone Grinding stuff and Soul Drain.
Yeah, but Bone Grinding isn't always the best. Sometimes Wind of Death is better. So why not? If you know, it's nice to be able to get to pick, but yeah,
it does give options, but it is kind of expensive to add as an off path.
Right.
But I mean, he's definitely going to get some value from it.
Right. And he's going to be able to make the air booster, which is nice with Air 4. So,
yeah, and Kirk Coppin is definitely a player that thinks through his builds very thoroughly.
Yeah.
So there probably is one specific case for which he really wants that shock resistance. And as you pointed out, there is actually a lot of value in having the Death Air cost. The other thing I can think of is Ziz, but that's kind of weird. Just to block enemy air elementals.
I mean, this is also going to open up trying to maybe get a Queen of Air Elemental or something later. Because this is going to be able to make probably a Ring of Wizardry, and then it could... Well, I mean, he might have to figure out...
Astral 5.
Astral 5. Okay, it would be tricky. He'd have to do the Ring of Sorcery and the whatchamacallit, stone...
Crystal
coin. Right, and then he could do it. So that's kind of out of the way, but... Yeah, okay. In testing, the only commanders Dimvedi had trouble killing are mounted commanders. Against those, they win about 50% of the time, lose about 20%, and mutual kill from poison or bleed about 30%. The Prophet, with massive undying and other bonuses, hasn't died during a dozen of the expansion tests Kurt and I did. We lost one Dimvedi previously to a mounted commander, rare but happens. There was one left in the province north of our cap, and this turn the Prophet was supposed to kill it. While the third Dimvedi took the province, we didn't have a wolf scout handy.
That's exactly what you'd suggested. That the reason he's using that is it happens to be there. Yep, makes total sense.
Well, the Prophet forgot to tie his fucking shoelaces and died after a comical series of awful rolls, despite the Prophet bonuses and the fight happening at night, ending in the command. Oh, yeah, because at night, the Prophet also gets Spirit Sight, so if they roll a nighttime, he's going to have even better stats.
Comparatively, yeah.
Yeah. Ending in the commander rolling plus 18 on a hoof damage roll. That's rough. There's still 18 heavy cav in the province, so we've got to take another pair of Dimvedi to clear it, meaning we can't do a lab in the forest as planned because of gold. Yeah, I mean, I think there's probably a case to be made for the first 2 or even 3 turns spamming assassins, because it'll probably net you 1 or 2 extra provinces, but it's going to come at the trade-off of research. So
yeah, and the Geekjas are also, like, your cap only guys are also your best communion mages,
right.
Just because they have higher paths and a lot more hit points.
Right. Goblin Diplo update. After the bump with Midgard, which both of us agree we should have won, you were commenting on that too. We have a nap in Borders. He gets the bottom 2 contested province. We get the top. We have a nap with Micklin, where he gets the forest he gets the pond and the small farm to the left. The Wolf Brothers are great for early expansion, but we need high numbers against heavy cav, and they aren't great into player armies.
Very true.
Yep.
Well, sort of. There are player armies in which they're still good. Like, they're very good against rangers.
Right.
But that's an unusual case.
They'll do nothing to the Zweihanders, for instance. We want the throne, and they're not going to do very good against the Hawkmeisters. That's for fucking sure.
Yeah, they're low damage, but very high defense and very high speed. So if you've got, like, low protection units that you're fighting, so they might do well, for instance, into the Jaguar Warriors comparatively, but not as well as some of Vadiheim's other units, like the much higher damage Berserkers.
We want Thrones to contest the Big Farm South in 55, so we're switching cap production to Rimvedi in preparation for the winter. We're hoping to make a strong push with the Rimvedi stack against one of the 2 Eastern Thrones, clearing hard provinces along the way. First winter is a power spike for the first wave of Rimvedi. We hope to time a hard fight on the throne of Midwinter, and the throne of Midwinter.
Yeah, because that's plus 2 to basically all their stats, including protection.
Yeah, it's, he used the Prophet to, like, assassinate, but another thing you can do with Vadiheim is use that Prophet to go ahead and start warming up some of the thrones. Or not, well, cooling down some of the thrones, right? Get your Dominion spread there, camp there for a few turns, preach, get like 3 or 4 candles, move to the next throne. So last turn was a set. I mean, you can do that to help. If you're doing Rimvedi expansion, you can do that to kind of help, your little Rimvedi expand. They'll kind of suck in summer still, but
yeah.
Last turn was a setback, but we still hope to pursue the original plan, secure peaceful borders where we can, defend ourselves in an early war with point buffed Rimvedi and cold scales, and ride the power curve as we get toys online. Very solid.
Yeah, so I mean, we kind of pointed that out or I think you'd actually pointed out when they first get started, it's summer first. So if you're using Rimvedi for your expansion parties, then for the very first couple turns, you're going to have some issues.
Right.
Or, I mean, technically it's spring first, but like most of the, the early game expansion that matters is those 3 summer turns. So that actually does kind of hurt Bless builds a little bit, but if you are actually leaning into your Bless, you can take enough stats to kind of make up for it. When you're taking a very modest Bless like this, which is more intended for the mages than it is for the units, then the Rimvedi just aren't great for their cost for expansion compared to their other options like the Wolf Brothers.
Right. So they take this a pretty light human province. We're not going to watch that. They took this with a few of the elephants. That's kind of interesting. It's a heavy cav province.
Yeah, and they're using the archers. Yeah, you can see from the battle report that since the archers died, that you can tell they're using them as lance catchers.
Right.
Which makes a ton of sense because while Vedic crossbows are very good, archers don't do armor piercing damage, and because they have lower than human strength, those arrows just don't hurt anyone.
Yeah, they're horrible. I mean, the only thing maybe is if you had somehow flaming arrows play you're going to do, then they kind of shine again a little bit. But yeah, they're pretty bad.
Oh, they still
Um,
do 9. I guess that's not worse than regular short bows. But yeah, still not very great in LA. For some reason, I thought they did 1 damage less.
well, I know these guys do. The short bow. Oh, no, it's still 9.
Well, so the reason, yeah, so that those two are for sure going to still be 8 and 9 because they don't have strength on those weapons because they're using the moose stats.
Yeah.
But yeah, for some reason, I guess Vedi don't have that low strength.
This is lower than a normal crossbow bolt, though.
Check out the Vedi crossbows,
Yeah.
like the actual Vedi crossbow unit.
11.
Interest, yeah.
Yeah.
That
I
is
knew
curious.
the crossbow was lower. I thought the bow was lower too, though. But
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, moose riders, like unlike every other cavalry unit in the game, they do the moose stats first.
right.
You know what it might be is that they took the base damage of a crossbow without updating it for strength and just took the strength. Oh, nope. Check out the Vedi crossbow stat.
Yeah, it's the same.
Yeah,
It's
1/3 of strength added.
Yeah, they didn't.
Yeah, so basically,
so it's actually probably a bug that should be reported.
yeah, because they did make that change for the short bow. They increased the
Right.
base damage and made it strength not added.
Yeah.
Because the moose has 16 strength.
Normally, this would for people at home, right? This would be like you get 1/3 of the strength added, and then it would be a lower damage short bow. But they basically made a custom short bow. This isn't a normal short bow that has higher damage but no strength added, and they didn't do the same for the crossbow. So, yeah, if they fixed the crossbow, it would significantly change the value of the moose, and you might start seeing them making it, having other use cases than just being evocation bait.
They've got other uses. They also have high mat move, and they're good for bumping because they take those base stats while still having weapons. So the Illwinter army calculator thing, in terms of like the expected value of the unit, is actually really high, like aberrantly high.
Yeah, I think I've heard that too. Yeah. Okay, that's Vedheim. Coming up to Micklin, we get some messages from them. Arrowmen are mean, commanders are frail. It's only turn 5, and I'm hoping this fort doesn't fail. I mean, that is
Yeah, and he's probably he doesn't need to worry too much about fort failure, but well, he might have misfortune scales. He still has.
But it rhymes with frail.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess he could get thwonged by barbarians and lose the fort to that, but
yeah,
I'm not super worried. Yeah.
You know, I'm always paranoid about that stuff when I take misfortune. You know, something showing up and killing my fort. Just before last turn rolled, Pan suddenly became a lot more reasonable. We got a non-aggression pact 3 with them. Ike the lake at 170 and the plains at 138 for access to the throne to my southeast, while Pan gets the plains at 151. No payments. During the test, we found a brief window of vulnerability between turns 12 to 15 when palisades are going up, and jag numbers are still relatively low. Naps with all of our neighbors will allow us to weather that brief window of weakness while we focus on palisades. We're aiming at 5 forts in total, thrones and some other blood hunting for more blood sacking. First war will likely be against Pan, but might be against another neighbor who's down on their luck. We also expect a coalition to materialize. Losing our prophet this turn slightly delays our expansion plans, but we're still... Oh, that's right, you got sniped last turn. But we're still ahead of our plans, with the palisade going up turn 5 and getting under just 900 gold per turn. Yeah, they are so freaking rich.
Yeah, so as you pointed out, the value of their province makes up for like being a little slower in expanding because each one is just worth enough more. And that's the only thing that Micklin really cares about at this stage.
Yeah. And this is... Oh, we were thinking that they would split here.
Yeah.
Because they had the Rain Priest and this guy. And
he's starting a fort. He's starting a fort is what he's doing.
Oh, okay.
So that's why they sent a second commander there. Is they had their eye on forting that one first because it's going to give the most recruitment points.
Ooh, single expansion though. Maybe they could have hit this. Oh, there's a death site here. Okay. Don't love the single expansion, but they're in a great position. So, and they've negotiated borders with Pangea.
They're also doing exactly what you had called that they would do, which is fort their entire cap circle. So this is absolutely a Jaguar-focused Micklin build.
Right.
Which is going to... So hopefully we're going to get to see some of the cool Jag counters, like lots of short bows.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really silly things that like you would never use against another unit type.
Like, there could be a slinger thing. I mean, that's something that Gath could do. I mean, Vedheim could theoretically do it too. Yeah, I mean, in some ways, I think I think this is a little bit new tech because I know when Zan and I were talking about forwarding your cap circle as Micklin, I had never seen anybody do it before. So I'm really excited to see them do it in a game.
It's definitely very different from how I like playing Micklin, but
Yeah,
that's another point that I don't need to belabor.
right. Okay, well, hopefully we see another, double expansion next turn. And let's move over to the right to Pangea. Oh,
We're 100% going to see a double expansion because they've got that army consolidated in 90 and the stack in 131. We might even see a triple expansion.
okay. Well, there we
But
go.
yeah, double for
let's
sure.
raise our expectations. Let's hope
Yeah.
we see a triple expansion next turn. No message from Pan. Well, they've got Mercs plus some of their heavy cav. So it's kind of interesting. They switched over to these cataphracts, which are badass. And they
They're just
switched over to them
very-
maybe a little earlier than we were thinking they would.
They're just very resource expensive. Like fantastic units, but until you have like more of your cap circle, you can just only get so many.
Right.
The other interesting thing is that these guys have almost the exact same stat line as MA Pangea's armored cataphract.
Right.
It's just these guys are using the iron versions of the weapons instead of the bronze versions.
Right. And, it's just worth pointing out the recuperation on a unit with this high of protection is really nice because with this much protection, this many hit points, they're really likely to survive a good number of battles and get 2 or 3 experience stars without the corresponding number of afflictions that you normally get. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so the iron version of the Centaur barding is +1 protection. That's their only upside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've Dryad hoplites over here.
Yeah, and that's more of the. I think this is the second expansion party that they recruited, where they added a bunch of satyr to help with the swarming.
Right. And that's going pretty well. They've been going after mostly easy provinces here. No heavy cav yet. So I think we're going to see them slam into heavy cav this turn. Hopefully they take this. I think what they might do, the optimal move might be splitting whatever's in the cap and taking both of these provinces.
Yeah, and they did just win. They just won another set of pikemen.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so I expect to see some hard provinces go down this next turn, which would be nice. Marignon, no messages from them. Oh my god, they slammed into the hard province. This is the one I have been sweating fucking bullets about.
Well, they know what they're doing in terms of like their plan here. I assume it's more illusion spam, which is actually great at catching lances.
Yeah. That's a lot.
You can only get so many. Yeah.
Oh god, some of them ran past. Those 3 were needed up front. Oh no,
they can't control their targeting.
Oh no, this is what I was worried about. No,
they're fine. They're fine.
They're fine. The mages. They lost 2.
Yeah.
3. Oh.
And then, the worst part is that those mages are actually getting preferentially targeted because of their lower protection.
Yeah. Woo.
Did win, but at great cost.
This guy might have been better used on a corner. He might have been able to hold up a flank, though you also don't want to lose him.
Yeah, he's your Foul Vapors caster.
Yeah.
Which you don't normally get access to with Marignon.
Ooh. I mean, some of this really came down to where these Phantasmal Warriors went at the beginning. Like, look at these guys.
Can't control them. And they're going to want to go for who they think they can damage. And they're like, oh, this guy's got heavier armor. I'm going to go hit the other guy.
Yeah, they're just running to the back. I think the thing is, it's like, okay, you are going to maybe break lance charges on these guys. Check. But then what next? Like,
you're going to shoot them at point blank range with crossbows. That's the whole plan.
Well, I know, but you're not going to kill them before they make contact. Like I think you want a sacrificial single line squad in front. I don't know when these guys break. I don't know how much it would help. I mean, they still.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard
got
province.
Really good morale. Yeah, I don't know if that would have changed. I mean, they broke at the end. I don't think that would have changed much. Just fuck. That's all I have to say. The good news.
Oh, they lost 3 mages. Yeah.
Yeah. The good news is they took the province. If they didn't take this, I think it's like rage quit.
I
But
wouldn't go that far, but
I
yeah,
know,
they
but
were
it's been
they
bad.
they did need that. Yeah.
I mean, because even having taken it now, which is a nice healthy bump, they'll be able to start a fort if they haven't already. Or they're making one here. It's a nice healthy bump. They can't expand again. These guys. That's kind of the problem with this crossbow
They
expansion is you can't really get your feet under you very
they
easily.
should actually be able to expand if they bring reinforcements from
Oh, the
their capital.
sailing. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
they can take either the Amazon province, which finishes locking off their lake from Atlantis, or they can. I
If
think that's the
Atlantis wasn't
one.
friendly with them, they would just be out of the game right now, right? Like if Atlantis came over here and just wanted to attack through here and get in
Oh,
their
we see
lake.
Atlantis' Ghost King out.
Ooh,
Very cool.
shit. We're not
I'm
supposed to
I'm
go.
curious to see his gear.
Okay, we
Yeah.
can't. I can't wait. We'll come back and do Atlantis proper, but
Stone skin, skeletal body. All right, he's got the cores.
enlarge. He's going to be very spooky.
He doesn't have water one. Okay, so he's not a foul vaporous ghost, and they didn't gear him. He was just researching. Okay.
Yeah, I think they wanted in his. What's his base protection? Oh,
Zero, yeah.
So yeah, they just wanted Alt 2, looks like. Because Alt 2 is going to give enlarge. Just so many good things.
Stone skin is, I think, the big one.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's way, way more reliable with any kind of armor, though.
Yeah.
Just because of how that stacks with natural
Ooh,
protection.
he's close.
Yeah, and what's funny is that, or actually, never mind. I was gonna say, like, with these ethereal units, archers, because of their high rate of fire, are more threatening than crossbows.
Yeah.
But in this case, he has stone skin, so the armor piercing does matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, 15 protection is not a lot. This guy, if he keeps expanding like this, he's definitely gonna grab some afflictions.
Yeah. Regen would go a long, long way, but
Oh yeah,
yeah,
that's both hit point regeneration and affliction resistance.
yeah. And like you had said, it's really nice when he can upgrade his weapon too. There's just so many things like throwing on a shield, right? Throwing on a weapon, throwing on a chest piece of armor that are going to make him significantly better. So
Yeah, as Atlantis though, you do need to trade for that armor just because you don't have natural access to the construction zero armor items.
yeah, I guess we're doing Atlantis here. So I've successfully been distracted. So this is a mix of Mournfuls who have horrible attack and Astrosuits who are very killy.
Yeah, so he does have some enchantment, so he should be able to get regen pretty soon.
Yeah, he's got enchantment 1 at least, so dark vision, poison resistance, right? All right, loses 3 sacreds and 2 mournfuls. Kind of sucks, but he's underwater now. These are both pretty hard underwater provinces. Amberclan, which is tough, and then Triton Troopers, which aren't bad.
Yeah, Amberclan by far the hardest underwater pop type.
Yeah, with maybe some argument to be made for Shark Tribe, but yeah, Amberclan are tough. Okay. I'm guessing he comes over here and takes this.
Yeah, that's an easy province.
Yeah.
He has taken the entirety of the contested land between them and Atlantis. Like all of it.
Erythia, yeah.
That's fantastic.
It's just...
He's not scared of Atlantis.
Yeah. Hey, did he have magic phase on this guy?
Nope.
Ooh. Don't like that. I really don't like taking... Like, if you're going to have somebody to slam the law down, it's so fucking hard to do without magic phase.
I'm guessing he has the Earth 1 for the self buffs.
Yeah.
I guess. And then that also means that he can forge his own armor if you trade for the gems. So, like, there's something to be said there. But, yeah, I don't love this from, like, a casting perspective or a spell casting perspective.
Yeah.
Like, what's he gonna cast? Mother Oak? Like, he doesn't have, like, fantastic battlefield magic. Not that you need to add, like, the air cross path or anything, because that's, like, native to you.
Yeah.
But I was thinking that he might be a Foul Vapors caster, for instance.
If you're not really using him to expand, I think you take him dormant. And, he is using him to expand, but, like, late, I kind of feel you take this guy dormant, maybe get, like, air and a little bit higher death, and then I'd feel a lot better about it. Maybe 1 path of water,
So the reason that you would take this guy or Jotunheim's Scrotty as an awake is mostly to be an awake researcher, and so that he's online that much faster for if you get rushed.
Right.
So, but I don't think that LA Atlantis is typically thought of as like a rush bait nation.
Yeah. Not unless you've got a Bogaroos nearby. A little feisty.
Yeah, this particular build though just doesn't seem to really have anything that's like now all of your sacreds die going on either. And its combination of pathing doesn't really make it immune to everything because it's missing moss body or like other stacked layers of
Yeah.
mitigation.
It's kind of
So
the thing. It's like this guy is not the kind. Basically no death units, or no undead units are going to be the kind of super combatant you can just waddle around like you can't kill this, because literally 2 or 3 death mages on advancing cast will kill him with dust to dust. So if you can't waddle around with him like he's some big weapon, then the only other thing is to be able to use him surgically in like magic phase attacks, which he can't do. So it doesn't make sense to me.
he is stealthy, but that's not the end all be all. You do still want magic phase. The only thing that I can think of is that he's intended to be like some sort of diversity forger guy, where like I need these specific paths to make this specific item to do this one thing that I want to do.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that makes sense to me looking at his thing there.
Yeah. I mean, he clearly wanted the nature for poison resistance, right? But still, it's like, ugh.
All right. You can make shade mails. Those are cool, I guess.
Let's come back to this. This guy, can't they do that anyway? I forget that they get, what are the paths on these guys?
Oh, on the cap guys? I don't think they get earth. Oh, they do get earth. Okay, they can make shade mails anyways.
Is it earth, water, air, death? Yeah, okay. Okay, so Agartha expands here. They've got, pretty easy province. We won't watch that. Cave drakes go into town, killing the forest trolls. Not surprised there. I'm a little surprised they didn't expand this turn. I feel like they had another expansion party with the cave drakes here. So, and pretty easy indies as well.
No, those are, well, at least the northern one's heavy cap.
Oh, that's true. But yeah, okay.
Yeah, speaking of shade mails, that's another nation that can make them.
Yeah. Okay. So Agartha, did we get a message from them? We did not.
Aaron's been quiet to us. He's probably been talking to the other players, but he hasn't said much to us.
Right. Misfortune 2 continues to be the best luck scale. Funding resistances by granting me 2 events this turn, plus 20 PD and 350 gold. Add to that the Jade Amazons in my cap circle, and I now fear I'm due some kind of karmic retribution. Yeah, that's really nice as Midgard.
Those are very lucky rolls. On the other hand, we don't know if those events in places where he had his scales even.
Right. Yeah, we look here. Prudent administrator fears your neighbors. Okay. That's the
so he does event.
Treasure's been confiscated. Yeah. Oh, but this was neutral scales. Yeah.
Yeah. But he did get a lucky event in his capital, so that's cool, I guess.
That's cool. But yeah, super nice for Midgard to get Jade Amazons too. So they expand over here with a bunch of vans. This is a cool battle. It's heavy cav versus vans. No crossbows.
That's so many vans. I mean, again, this is a hard province, so like I understand why he blobbed up like this. But that's so many. Like, I honestly think this is early enough in the game that you just want to grab more easier land.
Right.
And with the mobility on these guys, you can very easily group up and retake this once you've taken everything around it.
Right. And I mean, this is a contested province, but you also kind of know your neighbors usually aren't going to want to come after the heavy cap province the same way you aren't, so.
Yeah, that's the only thing that I can think of is that the reason that he went and took that early and blobbed up for it is basically to make sure I get this farm.
I mean, it's an amazing one, right? Like it's a freshwater, large farm. It's
high value.
Capital, so. But yeah, okay. No more expansions from them unless somehow this was them, though. Okay. 1 Midgard expansion. Pretty low, but, as we were saying, it was probably because they overcompensated.
They really valued a bit. Yeah. They really valued taking that first as opposed to taking 2 lower value ones.
Yeah.
Which from a gold perspective might work out.
Yeah. Next up, we've got Pythium, who I don't think we have a message from. And they have expanded here. Ooh. Hydra hatchlings.
So those guys,
they have little weak clouds. I think is what they're using them here for.
The temple summons is from a mod, right? They can't normally temple summon the Hydra hatchlings.
It's vanilla.
That's vanilla. Okay, in that case, that's probably what those are from. They probably recruited the priest early, and just started going on that way on their capital.
Yeah.
I can never remember which of the cult stuff is modded and which one's original because whenever anyone makes like those like overhaul mods, one of the first things that they do with LA Pythium is they do stuff with their cults. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you can go become Fire Cult and do stuff with your bull and whatever.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay, so I mean, this worked. There's nothing left of this army though, because the Hydra are dead, the Retarii are dead. That leaves 6 units. So, but it's a high value province, so that's cool.
Yeah, that's a decent early fort site actually.
Yeah.
Because it's very well situated for controlling that like column between the Atlantis puddle and Marignon's lake.
Yeah. They expend 18 competences is a shit ton.
That's
with
so many resources.
3 centurions.
Well, they're consolidating from different places.
Yeah, okay. And they ping this. So they set a good border with Tianchi. But that's about the only good border they're going to get. They've got Agartha closing in over here. They've got Atlantis that's already taken the full border on this side. They might get a good one here against Arco.
Well, if you look at where Arco is up north, they're in a very odd place,
right,
border-wise.
Okay. Next up, we have Tianchi. I've been hoping to triple expand this turn, but the farm south of my capital has very high scattering reports, so I'm sending double party this turn. Nap 3 with Erythia, I'm getting 113 and 116, aka all 3 contested map nuke provinces. His expander's out of reach, as noted before. I have other rush priorities. So he's getting this whole thing. And a non-aggression pact. I can see why Erythia is okay with that, right? Because they've got this...
Because Erythia has great expansion to their north. So
right.
They probably don't feel they need that whole thing. Yeah.
And further, they probably don't want to piss Tianchi off, right? Like... Because if Tianchi attacks them, then Atlantis is going to cause them all... Because Atlantis is probably a little grumpy about this, right? So if these two get in a fight, it's going to be really hard for Atlantis to not jump in here. Because really, Erythia is the only one who's like a deep underwater, contesting nation for Atlantis. So if Atlantis can find a way, or Erythia can find a way to bump off Atlantis, like if one of these wins, it's going to be real tricky for Marignon and Joman after that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Xibalba can go dip into the water. But,
yeah, that's true.
Or Mithlid, for that matter.
That's true.
But neither of them are great at it. Neither of them get much value out of the underwater provinces.
Yeah. So it makes sense for them to play friendly with Tianchi. Let's see what Tianchi expanded. Oh, we lost an ancestor vessel here. So it looks like he's going to eat the... I don't know about eating the lance charge here with your heavy calf.
You see what killed it?
Let's take a look. Lance charge.
Yep, that's Lance. Okay, yep, that was a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, he has shitty archers here. He should have put a few shitty archers up front. Because these guys aren't going to... I mean, they have composite bows, which aren't horrible, but...
I think that the idea there might have been just trying to win on the defense rolls. That like, oh, well, you don't have to break a lance if you never get hit.
Right.
But it didn't work out.
Not a huge loss. Oh my goodness. So this is basically where he sent 2 parties. Oh, it's a big heavy calf province. Apparently Tianchi not feeling the lance baiting.
He kind of is. It might just be a positioning thing that like on his unit graph looks like they're in front, but they're not far enough forward. Because he had those footmen in his other...
Yeah. He's definitely lost something.
Or actually, he might just be using those footmen to turn off the archer.
That's probably what he's using him for. How many did he lose? 2. I think these guys are what, 50 something gold? Yeah, 50.
Yeah,
gold?
they're not awful in terms of like pricing.
Yeah, but it's worth, I think. I mean, it's 100 gold lost. It would have been worth putting 6 guys up front to catch lances if you could.
Agreed. But I think he's still doing fine. And I've also noticed he's not using much foreign recruitment, which is usually one of MATC's things that, like, they can't get a ton, but they kind of get a trickle of other units, which they can then combine up and get your out-of-fort raiding party stuff going.
Yeah, I especially expect to see it on a province like this, because it's got a lot of resources. It's got a lot of recruitment points. So you probably could get, like, almost, let's see, 76 resources, 91 recruitment points. How many Barb Heavy Horsemen could you get a turn?
Should be 3, I think. 2 or 3.
Yeah, 3, I think. almost 3.5. And I mean, that's
Yeah,
significant,
pretty good.
right? Like, I mean, that not very, it doesn't take that long, like, to get 20 dudes from there. And then this province,
You can just get
not
one.
as good. That's just one a turn.
Yeah. Yeah, but 3 more per turn, especially for an out of cap province, is definitely worth.
This one's going to be
pushing that button.
nice. And this is like 2 a turn. This one's like 2 a turn, just about. So yeah, between all of these, they should be between these 3 provinces, which seem to be their best. They could get about 7 a turn. You know, and that matters.
Yeah, and they also have a pretty easy time gathering all those dudes up. So
Right.
they could even like make another expansion party.
Yeah. Okay, well, we've seen all the TNG expansion. Coming up to Erythia. No messages. They expand over here, lose a bunch of the spearmen, which I believe are mercs.
Yeah, they're not sweating losing those guys. I'm just disappointed that they didn't rename their royalty.
Oh, yeah.
That's not a princess, that's your queen. Or actually, is that the king or the queen? I think that's the queen.
I don't really know.
Oh, that's the king.
The
That's
sprite
the king.
changes? You can tell from the sprite?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. They get nicer
Oh,
hats.
and the smite, yeah. Okay.
And also, you wouldn't send your like a mere prince or princess to expand.
Right. Okay, they move up here, take this with moderate losses. You know, not too much, but this party's pretty beat up now.
Yeah, the javelin guys though, like I think that they're just starting army units.
Yeah. So where's their? Oh, their expander went over here too. And now I guess it comes back and maybe fucks with Atlantis more. Like what? Where do you think they take the expander from here?
I mean, it definitely has to go back, but unless you're planning on rushing,
you can basically go here or here.
Yeah. I don't know if I would have gone to that force just because best case scenario, it's dead ending your pretender. Worst case scenario, you're like bumping Xibalba.
Right.
Which, you might not mind, but
Aussies and those bats, this is one of the, like, if it bumped into this expansion party, there's a very good chance it dies. So
sure, but I mean, you don't typically expect
right.
LA Xibalba to get those rolls early.
Right.
That was just a very lucky roll.
Yeah. Okay. And I believe that finishes this column. Coming over to Xibalba, we've already done this, so I think we finished.
Yeah, looks like we
Did I miss any of the messages? TNG, Midgard, Utgard, Gath, Vedheim. Yeah, I think we've covered it all.
All right, very good.
Province graphs. Woo. Erythia just smoking people right now. He's like, what?
I mean, that is just the Wake Expander effect. Because, like, as we called out, he's the only one with a monster this game.
Right. Tier 1 appears to be Atlantis, but he also kind of has a Wake Expander that had to spend a turn researching.
Or several turns researching, even.
Yeah. Who's this gray line? Oh, Agartha. No.
Oh, no.
Jomin.
Then that must be the mercenaries, then.
Yeah, Jomin actually kind of a little disappointing. Let's look at them again real quick. Oh, yeah, the mercenaries were idle. He's got kind of weird geography to deal with. And he's building up just a tremendous amount of these samurai cav. He probably could have sent them out, but he probably was a little scared of the horse
The
tribe.
geography is going to be a thing just because of his lake to his north. Since he's not a sailing or amphibious natural nation, his expansion parties can really, they're really hemmed in from where they can go. And with Atlantis' lake to his west, that also kind of cuts things off a little bit. And he even has that Ichthyid puddle to make things even more choke pointy.
Right. Yeah, I'll be interested. We haven't really gotten many messages from Jomin. I'll be really interested to hear what they're thinking. Like, and not in terms of like expansion, but like what are they thinking for wars and whatnot? Because it's gonna be how they navigate this whole thing is gonna be. You put a lot of thought into that.
Yeah, so I mean, the one thing that we did get from Jomin is just that they made an insanely large bid on those heavy cav, but it seems to have paid off because Jomin is not the nation I would have expected to be in that top tier
Yeah.
for expansion.
Yeah. Okay. Any closing thoughts, Si?
No, yeah, I'm just looking forward to seeing the first war start to break out.
Yeah. Likewise. And viewers, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.